on. Now look, before you guys start going off in the comments about how, oh, he's just talking shit on the product, hear me out. I found this article today. It was back in June that this was released, apparently. I didn't know about it because, one, the product to me is coming close to a year already, and unfortunately the company overall has failed. Pardon me, overall. They haven't delivered. Let's just be honest with each other here. I don't care who you run for out of the three. I don't care if you're Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft. I don't care. Even if you're the most devoted of PlayStation fans, you cannot deny that PlayStation has dropped the ball in a major way when it comes to the VR headset. They went out on a limb over a year ago, last June in fact, when they had their big conference talking about VR was going to have 80 plus games on it within the first physical year. We're rolling up pretty fast on the first year of its release, and it is nowhere near having 80 plus games, not even 80, okay? I'm sorry, we can at least admit that, okay? I know you're going to be like, well, you're a Nintendo guy. Of course you're going to point out the shortcomings. You're damn right. The reason be is because I call everybody on their shit. Now listen to me. I will applaud them on their efforts here, but a phone company can do better. If you read the article, which will be in the description down below, Samsung has got 5 million of their VR headsets in the wild. A phone company, Samsung, yes, Samsung has got 5 million. That's 4 more million of their headsets in the wild. And it's not even a 1080p head display. Think about that. A phone company that's not even trying to compete here is whipping their ass. I'm just pointing this out to you, okay? It's well noted in this article that Samsung is beating Sony's ass. Now, they go on to make predictions about the holiday season. Hopefully that'll pick it up. Hopefully the other game that they did release this year will help sales. Hopefully Sony will get their head out of their ass and bundle this thing and knock the price down to where people will want to buy it. Unfortunately, I think people are already admittedly going, hey, we just don't give a fuck. I think that's what's going on here. People just don't care. And Sony, due to the fact that the first 6 months, you had 3 of them bitches where you couldn't find the fucking headset in of itself. And then the other 3, you really relied heavily on that damn demo disc. And you heavily relied on, like, tech demos of what this possibly could do just alone, and Resident Evil 7. This thing was a failure basically from launch. Okay, I know, hold your horses. I said, hear me out. We all put too much pressure on Sony, which is a dying company. I'm sorry if you feel some type of way. I'm not talking about PlayStation, I'm talking about Sony in a general here. They are dying. It is time we admit this. Sony. S-O-N-Y. There's 2 of them. There's Sony of America, and then there's Sony of Japan. Sony of Japan might actually be doing just fine. Sony of America, on the other hand, holy shit, are they a dying racehorse on its last limb. Literally, it's like watching a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, and he's got one ankle that's like literally hanging by a thread, okay? This is really bad to watch, okay? This headset in June finally broke the million. Finally. In June. There haven't been reports of it busting 2 million or 1.5 million or anything since. This thing isn't moving units. Sony themselves are not trying to move units. To be more blunt, Sony needs to reassert dominance by reasserting the fact they need to retire certain aspects of PlayStation. Just go ahead and take those out. And what do I mean? VR, just forget about it. PS Vita, forget about it. I know that seems drastic, but here's the thing. PlayStation 1, beautiful system. It had nothing to worry about. Fucking nothing else to worry about. PS2, the highest selling PlayStation of all time. When it had nothing to worry about, most beautiful system on the market, highest selling system of all time. Beautiful. PS3 is when it all started to go downhill. Why? Because we saw Sony start worrying about other shit. And it is apparent that Sony and the PlayStation division cannot multitask. Say what you want to, facts are facts. Name one time Sony has got this right. It doesn't exist. Sony can't multitask. Get over it. Vita, PSP, PlayStation 2's ending, and PlayStation 3 beginning. PlayStation 4 and the Vita combined, and the PlayStation VR. All these are multitask. They can't juggle, okay? When have you seen a successful ad for both systems? Never. When have you seen these things successfully side by side? Never. You see where I'm going here? They need to admit, hey, we're out of the handheld market. We are out of the VR market. We don't want nothing to do with that. We're going to stick to what we know. What we know is gaming on a television. That's what we know best. That's what we're going to offer you guys from now on. And we're going to just stick to that. That's what they need to do to stay number one, and that's it. And that's coming from me. And you know me, I'm on Nintendo. So if I'm telling you that, then you know there's something there. So if they want to remain that way, they're going to stick to just PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But if they want to continue to struggle, and it is a struggle, they're going to keep fucking up this multitasking shit. Because like I said, no matter how devoted you are to Sony, you cannot sit there with a straight face and tell me, hey, PSVR is a success. PlayStation Vita is a success. They're not. Yeah, they sold fine. I won't say that. Except for VR. VR is selling terrible. Because it's an attachment to the PlayStation VR. That is terrible, okay? When it's still lower than 5% of PlayStation 4 owners that own this fucking thing, it's horrible, okay? This is something that you need to just go ahead and admit. This thing is horrible. It's like the fucking Connect 2.0, in fact. VR is basically Connect now. Nobody wants it. Nobody has it. And I don't care what they do come Christmas. I doubt it's going to get any better because, again, Sony, you bit off more than you can chew. You opened your mouth and you said 80 games, and everybody was holding you to that, and you didn't deliver, and you've been taken to task for it. It's time for you to just back up, say, we were wrong, and drop the fuck out of VR and the handheld market. Stick to what you know. Xbox does that. Xbox only sticks to one thing. Granted, they're struggling, yes. Nintendo is the only company that can multitask. But they are a gaming company. They're the only ones multitasking because they can do that. They have one handheld and they have one system. And they have always done it just fine. But PlayStation, you're owned by a big corporation that is not a gaming company. You can't multitask. You've never been able to multitask. Who in the hell told you you can multitask? Again, I'm talking about Sony of America. The dying Sony, if you will. Who can't sell a Blu-ray player, who can't sell a television, who can't sell their movies, who can't sell their animated movies, whose TV studio is hurting, whose movie studio is hurting, whose telephones are hurting, cell phones are hurting, MP3 players, everything from Sony right now in America is hurting. And it doesn't look to be getting better. The only thing that's selling is the core PS4. That's it. Whether it's Pro or Basic, that's it. Not a VR headset, not a PlayStation Portable, or a PlayStation Vita, my bad, or the PS TV, none of that shit. Nothing else is selling. Only PlayStation 4s. They need to go and back up, just hands up, PlayStation. I'm sorry, we bit off more than we could chew. We're ending that shit. It's done. It's over. Finito. Fuck it. Admit PlayStation VR is basically PlayStation's attempt of the Virtual Boy, and while it's prettier, you fucked up. Just admit it. Just admit it. We'll all live. And like I said, go to being core console only, like what Xbox does. And you'll still be leading. You'll still be leading by a lot because you're up to 60-something million. But again, I've said this before and I'll say it one more time. I don't believe you'll capture lightning in a bottle twice with the over 150 million, because that's just a one-time deal. But you don't never know if you don't refocus and get out of this. I'm trying my best to keep these things juggling. You were only able to do that one time because you only had one product to focus on. You want to hit that goal again? Quit trying to multitask. I'm just saying what, again, I think we're pretty much all thinking here, regardless of who you're for, Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure you're all thinking the same thing. You know, that goal would be really attainable for fucking Sony if they quit trying to multitask. I'm just saying. So, get your shit together. Quit worrying about everybody else. Focus on one fucking product and make that product your goal. You got a good product. And please, start pushing the PS4 Pro. Or fucking take it off the market. What the fuck is this? We got a PS4 Pro. We got a PS4 Slim. We got a PS Vita. We got a fucking PSVR. That's 4 fucking products. 4. And you wonder why your sales are nowhere near what you think they should be. People have a hard enough time trying to figure out the fuck they want when they go in there and say PlayStation. You think people at Walmart have an IQ higher than that of a blade of grass? You think people at Target have enough time to sit there and talk to your simple ass because you don't know what the fuck PlayStation you want? They don't get paid enough for that. Look. PlayStation. Sony. Get it together, man. I would love for every time a PlayStation machine comes out, it's an automatic 100 million. Automatic. But until you get your head out of your ass thinking you can multitask, it's just not going to happen. It's just facts. You've never been able to multitask. Anyone who thinks you are able to multitask is just gassing you up because they don't know any better, because they're just way stuck up your ass, because they're just fanboying and they can't see the forest for the trees. That's exactly what that is. I'm not gassing up Nintendo. I'm not gassing up Xbox, and I'm damn sure not gassing you up. I'm just telling you what it is. Okay? I've said it plenty of times in this video. I'll say it one more time. I'm a Nintendo guy. But I'm not going to sit here and gas up some bullshit like the PlayStation and say they can multitask really well when I just told you numbers. That shit doesn't lie. Multitasking and their numbers look that way? No. If they were good at multitasking, 60 million would be across the board, meaning VR, the PS4, and the Vita. Every one of those machines would all sit at 60 million apiece. But that's not what they sit at. VR is still below 5% of PS4 owners, and they're available everywhere. So no, Sony's not good at multitasking. Vita is not sitting at 60 million units sold, and no, it's not available everywhere. Just to give you some kind of a, insight as to what I mean by numbers. No, they're not good. The Switch is, selling great right now. It's doing like 1 million, maybe even more than 1 million a month. It looks to be able to catch the Wii U within its first year. Hell, it might even catch up to Microsoft if they're not careful by the end of its second year. And if GameStop would get their head out of their ass with these bundles, they would actually understand what it means to be completely sold out of Nintendo Switches at least once. I'm just putting that out there because that needs to be out there. Anyway, I just wanted to get this out there because, like I said, I didn't know this article had been made because I haven't really been keeping up with the VR headsets because I myself don't have one. I myself don't even really care. And when I realized, hey, we're getting close to that 1 year mark, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I might need to talk about the fucking VR headset because I remember back when it first was getting announced, we were all looking at PSVR from Sony as the savior of the VR, and it has surely shit not lived up to it. Maybe we put them up way too much high on a pedestal. I don't know if that's our fault or if it's Sony's fault for getting their head so swole that it can't get out of their ass and they didn't humble themselves enough. But I do know for a fact Batman Arkham VR, a game that was exclusive to that fucking piece of shit, is now also available on Oculus. So, deuces.